Hello, my name is Alyssa Bridges. Today I'm going to be teaching a lesson about graphs for kindergarten students. The past skills in this lesson will be oral language, listening and speaking. The student will demonstrate thinking skills in listening and speaking, and it's standard 1. Mathematics will be standard 5. Data analysis, the student will collect and display data in a group setting. Then also small motor skills development, standard 1. The student will participate in activities that involve small motor skills.
Third grade, I need medical mode, check out.
For the graphs, what I would do is I would call volunteer students up to, first they're going to touch the spinner and move the color it lands on to the block on the graph. So a student would come up and they would push the middle button on the graph. When it lands on a color, the color blue, they would come over and with their finger, they would touch the blue block and place it where it says blue on the graph. Then I would call another student up and they would do the same thing. Touch the spinner, whatever color it lands on, green, they'll choose the green block and place it in the green square on the graph. And then the same thing again. Once I've called up volunteer students and they've selected their colors and put them in the box, we'll discuss how many is in each one, so they'll be counting. And then I would also call volunteer student up to select a pin and circle which color had the most blocks in its square. And then in order to choose a pin, you would come down here to the options. It's got the dots. You would select pin. You can select which color of pin you want. We'll choose the red one. So the student would pick up the red pin and they would circle which color had the most squares. And they would place it back. If you need to erase anything, you would push the dots again and you see eraser. You would choose which eraser you want, select it, and then you would pick up the eraser and erase whatever was written on the board. So for the next slide, it's another graph. What is your choice for a healthy snack? Students would come up and select their snack. You have grapes, apples, strawberries, and bananas. They would come up, let's say they choose an apple, they're going to place, you have to push the dot, push select, that way you can select the apple. Select the apple, place it in the square. Same thing for a strawberry. And they would place it in, and then we do the same thing again. They're going to choose whichever fruit has the most in its square. A student, volunteer, would come up. We're going to select pin again, select a color, blue. They'll pick up the blue pin, and they'll circle strawberry, grapes, apple, or bananas, whichever one had the most in its squares. They would circle it. We could also discuss more than or less than. How many more did this fruit have than this fruit, and so on. You place the pin back. In order to erase, if you want to, you would push the dots. You can push select. We're going to push eraser. Choose our eraser and erase it. The next slide is going to be, do you have a favorite bird? Same thing, I would call volunteer students up. They would choose which bird they like with their finger. Push select. And they would place it in the correct square above which bird they chose. And then at the very end again, we would circle which one had the most, discuss how many more that one had or how many less. And then we're going to move to the next slide. On this one, they're going to choose which animal is their favorite, and then they're going to put it in the barn. With this one, it's not, you can choose whichever square you want to. So we would say we've got to choose select again so that they can select an animal. If one chose a horse, he or she gets to place it in whichever square they want to. So at the very end of this one, we would go through and count how many roosters, how many horses, how many sheep are in each square, and then we would talk about how many more and how less they have. And then then on the last slide, what is your favorite color of egg? The volunteers would come up again and they would get to place whichever egg is their favorite in the square. And then we would count again which one has the most, which one has the least, and then they would circle, a volunteer would circle which egg had the most. We'd add and subtract on how many and how much more. Down here, if you want to go back to your main options right here, this is what it looks like. You would just push this to go to your full screen. And then, like I said, the dot, dot, dot is where you choose your pens, your erasers, your selection button, your magic pen, your highlighters, different things like that. With this lesson, students could also highlight which egg had the most or the least, and then which animal had the most or the least, which bird, and so on. And that concludes my lesson on graphs for kindergarten students.